Unfortunately, there was a technical glitch, but we're back. So yes, we were discussing about the effect of social media on young brains and what to do
Well,
about
I
it.
cannot answer to you with I can tell you, I mean, one of the major reasons why there is this type of addiction towards social media, it's given to the fact that it activates neuronal pathways which are related to dopamine release, for example. So the more you like, more like you get, the more you want to have them, and the fact that you immediately receive a message, it makes you very attentive and gives you this constant release of good or hopefully not bad type of mood. But to your questions, I mean, you started asking me how I manage my life as a mother with my children. I still have children; they are not teenager yet, so I'm still a bit in control, I would say. And that's why I try to give strict rules on how to access screen time. Let's put it this way. And they go to a school where technology are not really yet implemented, let's put it this way. So I have not digitalized kids that much. And this was also one problem when we experienced the lockdown, because of course they had to go from a traditional school setting, it's a Montessori school, to the screen and to have a Google Classroom or so. And for them, it was nothing pleasant to experience, I have to say. But for other kids, I heard it worked beautifully. So I think it's very much also on the type of person you are. And I've listened, for example, from a friend of mine. She's a psychologist, and she's specialized with people, with the children suffering from selective mutism. So these are kids which are very shy, they wouldn't talk and they would stop talking. And she said that amazingly, all the virtual exchange she had and the way these kids suddenly start to communicate even within their own family was unexpected. She said that she would have never thought that it would have been so easy that these children would have opened up in front of a screen and ameliorate their symptoms, their way of communicating during this time. Might be several reasons. Might be that the screen removes the fact that you're shy, don't feel observed as an old person. So for those who are very shy, it's maybe easier to communicate via a screen. And of course, I mean, also the fact that they were in a more protected setting at home, you know, you don't have the school where everybody's looking at you. So for that, children work very well.
Yeah, but that's actually that's an interesting observation made. But yeah, going back to like, what do you think teenage girls are more affected by negative emotions in terms of your expertise on the brain neurochemistry?
I mean, I think it is a matter of how we gender the brain. Very simple.
Oh, it's a social thing.
Absolutely. It is how we educate a human being to be perceived from the society. And whether we like it or not, a woman, it's still, in the majority of the cases, educated towards to look decent, pretty, etc., etc. Then, of course, this way of communicating, it is shortening distances, it is opening up to a magnitude of people, which is not even, it's not anymore your single friend or your schoolmates, but it's going to be an unknown number of people outside in the world. So I think that's a matter of concern, absolutely. And even at the forum that we're going to have on the 19th and 20th of September, we will have a full panel discussion on suicide risk among teenagers and sex and gender differences on those. Now, I am not an expert to speak about this topic, but we will have top worldwide renowned specialists either sharing their own personal story because maybe they are suicide survival, or because they are specialists on the topic from a medical perspective, or they represent patients advocacy group who had to go through this thing. So I highly encourage those who are interested to join this type of event.
Great. So maybe we can take the link from you afterwards, and some of us
Yes.
can join. Yeah. But so what are the, if you just quickly list for our viewers, what are the main diseases that you're looking into? You looked into Alzheimer's, I know that.
Sure.
So
we're studying also migraine carefully, because migraine, it is a disease which again affects mainly the female population, highly likely due to some hormonal component. We are also studying depression, anxiety, again, there is a disproportion of women affected versus men. But on the other hand, you also have a big learning from other diseases like Parkinson, because Parkinson is more of a male disease. So you have really that there are some disease which affect one gender and some disease which will affect the other one, like multiple sclerosis. Again, it is a female, more predominant in female, and you have that stroke in the middle life, in our middle lifetime, it is more predominant in the male population, for example. Although the symptomatics, it is more severe in women, and women have more mortality. So there are lots of differences that one should carefully study, not to benefit one group versus the other, but just to benefit both. And interestingly enough, there was a recent publication, again, AI-based, so I think lots of solutions will come from AI and not from our brain, whether we like it or not. There was an interesting work that was published on, I think, PNAS, if I'm not wrong, but please double check because I might not recall. It is nearly 11 at night in Europe. So my brain is a bit tired. What I wanted to say is that this study was analyzing sex and gender differences in chest and lung pathology. So it was really studying this type of images related to X-ray. And interestingly enough, if you would have trained the algorithm only with the male images, it would have not been good enough in predicting and in assessing. So the accuracy was not as good as if you would have trained the algorithm with both men and women images. And the same is true if you would have had a data set based only on female observation, then your system was not accurate enough in diagnosing certain type of things. As opposite, if you would have trained with both data sets. So just to say that diversity, you really need to have both data sets to make the best outcome of your observation and learning.
Which also underscores the differences, because only if there were differences would you need the two sets. Otherwise, you would not need any.
Absolutely.
That's it. That's a great point. So yeah, I mean, as you just said, it's 11. I really have to let you go. I don't want to intrude on your sleep. But I mean, for people who are interested, you just said that people work pro bono, but people who are interested, I find this really interesting personally. But for the viewers who would be interested, how can we get involved? What can we do? How can we use your skills to participate in this project?
There are several ways of being involved. One possible way, it is just to become a member of the organization. It is a growing organization. And there is a membership for an yearly membership. Then there is the fact that one can work pro bono as a scientist, as an artist, as a patient. We have in our organization, I didn't mention that, but we have scientists, we have medical doctors, we've got patients, we've got artists, we have experts in consultancy, in policy. It's really diverse, the expertise we have in-house. So anyone who wants to join is really empowered to do so. If one wants to write a blog on a certain disease area or a certain scientific finding which correlates to our work, it's absolutely highly welcome. We have the forum, so to join, maybe the first step is to learn about what we do, and the forum, it is our platform where we really show the world what we are doing and why we want to do it. And then, of course, spreading the word. I think that among the scientific community, it's very important that scientists start to think, I have to look at sex and gender differences in my experimental setting, because it starts all from the lab. It's about how the animal it is characterized. Do you have enough female and enough male mice, for example, to make sense out of the scientific outcome? So to generate the awareness, it's also very important. And we are all responsible to do that, because we have to all share the message and empower people to do the right job.
So how is the scientific community right now? If you like from 1 to 10, how are they doing regarding?
This is a very tricky question. I can tell you, we are at 1.5 maybe.
So very bad.
It is very far from where we should be. because we just started right now to analyze those sex and gender differences. And as I told you, the problem starts at the source of the experimental setting before even bringing a molecule to a possible type of clinical development stage. Because even in our lab, what majority of the paper we publish, they will not disclose the sex of the animal. They might not power the experimental setting to make sense of this sex differences. Gender in mice is a bit more tricky to study, although it's possible, of course. I mean, in a way, I don't know. And so we are all, you know, the problem starts really at the source. And so to your question, I think we really have to walk a long, long way to understand. But as I said, it's not only about sex and gender. Sex and gender is our topic, it is our field, it's where we are focusing, but there is beyond much more. There is, as I said, ethnicity, geography, the socioeconomic status of a person, the education of a human being, everything plays a role to the final health status.
So like the better, the higher resolution we can go, the better. Always.
Absolutely. It's not, I've read a very interesting article this morning. I don't have much time to read articles, but it just catchy arguments, or at least not catchy for me. I mean, the most interesting things for me. And one observation was, it's not about how many data you have. So you don't need to have 1 million of white-skinned people, but maybe you need to have 100 persons and all diverse among each other. And then you can really make the best sense. Of course, you have to power the study, etc.
Right.
But it seems that if you really outsource to AI this type of understanding, an AI system will work at best when it has a really diverse type of data set rather than maybe a huge cohort of all equal subjects. It's back to the same example we gave before, that the prediction, it's more accurate if you have men and women, and the algorithm learns from those different type of images, rather than having just female and men. And the same applies for everything else.
Great. Yeah, so we are at the end of the talk, and I would just...
It was a pleasure. It was a joy to share.
Yeah,
and
it was great for you to come and give us your time. And I would just I'd like to ask you to say something, like a take-home message for one, the general audience, and two, anyone who is excited about a certain topic, but is sort of scared to venture out of their comfort zone and, you know, go for it, like you did years ago.
First of all, keep on trying. You need perseverance. And no matter how many times you fail, just keep doing it and take the risk. Sometimes in life, we need to be able to take some risks to succeed. If we are too cautious, we might not really go the way we want. And we need to be then smart to balance risk, benefit.
So follow your heart or follow your brain?
I think you have to follow both, and you have to see where the risk it is an acceptable type of risk, but take these risks if you think that they are not too harmful. Okay. And then my motto, as I said before, I mean, precision medicine, it is at the center of my heart. What I also didn't tell you, and I forgot, it's that the Women's Brain Project, it is advocating for the creation of a precision medicine research institute, which will be based in Switzerland, but with a global virtual reach out. So precision medicine will be achieved, as I said, once we will remove the word differences with the word characteristic, and then it will become a sustainable healthcare system, hopefully.
That's a great way to close this. Thank you, Antonella, for being with us.
You're very welcome.
We'll chat with you soon. Good night.
Take care. Bye-bye. Thank you.